When a struggling waitress turns down a billionaire's excessive tip out of pure honesty, she never expects to catch his attention. But as fate would have it, her integrity sparks something in him that wealth never could: genuine love. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The early morning rush at Sunrise Diner was finally winding down. Chen wiped her forehead with the back of her hand and glanced at the ancient wall clock. 2 more hours until her shift ended, and then she had to race across town for her evening class. At 28, she was exhausted from juggling her waitressing job with her night courses in physical therapy, but the student loans wouldn't pay themselves. "Maya, your phone's been buzzing like crazy in the break room," called Darius, her coworker at the counter. With a sigh, Maya untied her apron and hurried to the staff area. 3 missed calls from her grandmother and 1 from a number she didn't recognize. She called her grandmother first. "Nai, is everything okay?" Maya asked, immediately concerned. "The sink is leaking again," her grandmother said, sounding frazzled. "And I'm supposed to host the community center knitting group this afternoon. I can't have them over with water all over the floor." "I'll call the plumber," Maya said automatically, already calculating whether she could afford to miss her evening class to be there for the repair. "I'll try to get someone there within the hour." After hanging up, she called the unknown number, thinking it might be the financial aid office about her scholarship application. "Chen? This is Dr. Reynolds at Bayside Rehabilitation Center. We received your application for the physical therapy assistant position." Maya's heart raced. She'd applied for the part-time job weeks ago, hoping it would provide experience in her field while she finished her degree. "Yes, Dr. Reynolds. Thank you for calling back. I'd like to schedule an interview with you for next week. Your qualifications are impressive, and we think you might be a good fit for our team." After setting the interview for Tuesday afternoon, Maya ended the call with a mix of excitement and anxiety. A job at Bayside would be perfect. Better pay, flexible hours, and invaluable experience. But she'd have to rearrange her entire schedule, including finding someone to check on her grandmother more regularly. Back on the floor, Maya refilled coffee cups and cleared tables, her mind still spinning with possibilities. The diner was nearly empty now, just a few regulars nursing their coffees, and 1 man in the corner booth whom she hadn't noticed before. He sat alone, dressed in a tailored suit that seemed wildly out of place in the modest neighborhood diner. Dark hair neatly styled, absorbed in something on his laptop. Maya approached with a coffee pot. "Refill, sir?" He looked up, and Maya was struck by eyes so intensely blue they seemed almost unreal. He appeared to be in his mid-30s, with sharp features softened only by the hint of surprise when he noticed her standing there. "Yes, thank you," he said, closing his laptop slightly. His voice was deep, cultured, carrying the easy confidence of someone accustomed to authority. Maya filled his cup, noticing he'd barely touched his breakfast. "Can I get you anything else? The eggs aren't to your liking?" He glanced at the untouched plate. "No, they're fine. I got distracted by work. Hazard of the profession, I'm afraid." "Must be important," Maya said with a small smile. "Most people don't forget about bacon." That earned a slight smile in return. "You'd be surprised what gets forgotten when quarterly reports are due." Maya was about to move on when he stopped her. "Actually, could I get the check? I have a meeting across town in 30 minutes. "Of course." She quickly brought his bill, a modest $14.75 for the breakfast special and coffee. When she returned to collect it, the man was packing up his laptop. On the table beside the bill was a credit card and what looked like a $100 bill. No, Maya realized as she picked it up. It was $1,000. "Sir, I think you made a mistake," she said, holding up the bill. He glanced up, seemingly confused. "Mistake? This is a $1,000 bill. Your breakfast was only $14.75. "I'm aware," he said, a curious expression crossing his face. "The rest is your tip." Maya stared at the money in her hand. Nearly $1,000 in tip, more than she made in 2 weeks of double shifts. It would cover the plumber, her textbooks for next semester, maybe even part of Nai's medication. But something felt wrong. "I can't accept this," she said finally, placing the bill back on the table. "It's excessive. Our coffee isn't that good." She smiled to soften her words. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The man studied her, genuinely puzzled. Most people wouldn't question it. "I'm not most people," Maya replied. "And I haven't done anything to earn this kind of tip. I just poured coffee and brought eggs." "Perhaps I value good service more highly than most," he countered. Maya shook her head. "If you want to leave a generous tip, 20% is customary. That would be about $3. If you're feeling exceptionally pleased with the service, maybe $10. But this," she gestured to the money, "this feels like something else, and I'm not comfortable with it." For a long moment, he just looked at her, an unreadable expression on his face. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. A genuine laugh that transformed his serious features. "You're absolutely right, Ms." He glanced at her name tag. "Maya, it was something else. A test of sorts." "A test?" Maya frowned. "I'm not sure I understand." He extended his hand. "Ethan Blackwood. And I apologize for the unorthodox approach. I was curious about how the staff here would react." Maya cautiously shook his hand, noting the firm grip and expensive watch peeking from beneath his cuff. "That's an unusual thing to be curious about at 7 in the morning, Mr. Blackwood." "Ethan, please?" He hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. "The truth is, I'm considering buying this building. I wanted to get a feel for the place before meeting with the current owner, including the character of the people who work here." Maya's stomach dropped. "You're buying the diner?" "Not necessarily the diner itself, the building. I'm interested in developing this area." He studied her reaction. "You seem concerned." "This diner has been here for 30 years, Maya said carefully. "It's important to the neighborhood, to the people who work here, people who need these jobs." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "That's valuable perspective. Would you be willing to share more? Perhaps over a proper cup of coffee sometime. One that you're not serving." Maya blinked, taken aback by what sounded suspiciously like an invitation. "Mr. Blackwood." "Ethan," he corrected. "Ethan," she conceded. "I appreciate the offer, but I don't think that would be appropriate. I've already told you I won't accept your money." "This wouldn't involve money," he clarified. "Just conversation. Your insights could be helpful to my decision-making process." Maya hesitated. If this man was really planning to buy the building, perhaps she could advocate for keeping the diner. For her coworkers, for the community. "I have a class after my shift today," she said finally. "But I could spare 30 minutes tomorrow. There's a coffee shop across the street. Much better coffee than ours," she added with a small smile. "Tomorrow, then," Ethan agreed, gathering his things. He left a 20 on the table, a generous but not outlandish tip. "Thank you for your honesty, Maya. It's refreshingly rare." After he left, Maya stared at the $20 bill, wondering what she'd just agreed to. Darius sidled up beside her. "Was that who I think it was?" he asked, eyes wide. "Depends. Who do you think it was?" That looked like Ethan Blackwood. You know, Blackwood Innovations? Tech billionaire? His face was just on the cover of Business Weekly. Maya's heart skipped. "You're joking." "Nope." "What did he want?" "Besides eggs, obviously." "Apparently to buy this building," Maya said, still processing this new information. Darius whistled low. "Well, that's it then. We're done for. Guys like that don't buy buildings to keep old diners running." "Maybe not," Maya murmured. "But maybe he could be persuaded." The rest of her shift passed in a blur. Maya called a plumber for her grandmother, apologetically rescheduled a study group, and tried not to think about her impending coffee with a billionaire. That evening, after helping her grandmother clean up the water from the leaking sink, Maya finally had a moment to research Ethan Blackwood. What she found was impressive and intimidating. Founder and CEO of Blackwood Innovations, a technology company specializing in medical devices and accessibility solutions. Estimated net worth, just over $4 billion. Graduated MIT at 22. Built his company from the ground up. Never married. Notoriously private about his personal life. "What are you reading so intensely?" her grandmother asked, settling into her favorite armchair with her knitting. "Just researching someone I met today," Maya replied, showing her the screen. Nine Eyes squinted at the image of Ethan in a sleek suit at some charity gala. Handsome man. "Why are you looking him up?" Maya explained the encounter at the diner, the $1,000 tip, and his interest in buying the building. "He wants to meet for coffee tomorrow to discuss it." "Ah," her grandmother said knowingly. "He likes you." "Nai. He doesn't even know me. He's a businessman looking at a property." "I'm 82 years old, Maya. I know when a man is interested in more than property." She returned to her knitting with a small, smug smile. "Wear the blue sweater tomorrow. It brings out your eyes." Maya laughed and kissed her grandmother's cheek. "I'm going to bed. Big day tomorrow." But as she lay awake that night, Maya couldn't help wondering if her grandmother might be right. Why would a billionaire CEO value the opinion of a waitress about a real estate acquisition? Unless there was another reason he wanted to talk to her. The next morning, Maya found herself standing outside Brewster's Coffee, absently smoothing her blue sweater. She'd chosen it without conscious thought, then realized what she'd done and almost changed. But she was running late, and it really did look nice with her dark jeans. Through the window, she could see Ethan already seated at a corner table, checking his phone. He was dressed more casually today. Dark jeans and a light gray sweater that looked simple, until you noticed the perfect fit that screamed custom tailoring. Taking a deep breath, Maya pushed open the door. Ethan looked up immediately, as if sensing her presence. He stood as she approached. "Maya, thank you for coming," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "I took the liberty of ordering for myself, but I waited for you before getting anything else." "Thank you," she said, settling into the chair. "I can get my own coffee, though." "I insist," Ethan said. "Consider it professional courtesy for your consultation time. What would you like?" Maya relented, requesting a simple latte. As Ethan went to the counter, she observed him more carefully. Despite his casual clothes, he carried himself with unmistakable authority. Yet there was something else, a slight guardedness perhaps, in the way he interacted with the barista. Polite but distant. When he returned with her latte and his black coffee, Maya decided to be direct. "So, Mr. Blackwood." "Ethan," he reminded her. "Ethan," she corrected. "I did some research after you left yesterday. You're not just some random investor looking at buildings in this neighborhood." He raised an eyebrow. "Does that change things? It makes me wonder why you're really interested in our little diner, and why you'd want my opinion on anything." Ethan considered her for a moment, then nodded as if appreciating her directness. "Fair enough. The truth is, I'm looking to expand my company's community outreach. We've been successful developing medical technology, but I want to establish innovation centers in underserved areas, places where people can learn tech skills, access resources, maybe even find employment with my company eventually. And you chose our neighborhood because?" "Because it's where I grew up," he said simply. Maya couldn't hide her surprise. "You're from Riverside?" "Lived here until I was 18. My mother worked 2 jobs to keep our apartment after my father left. One of them was at that diner, actually. Different name back then." Maya studied him with new interest. "You never mentioned that yesterday. I prefer to evaluate situations objectively first, without sentiment clouding judgment." He took a sip of his coffee. "But yes, that's why this particular property interests me. It seems fitting." "And the $1,000 tip? Was that really a test?" Ethan had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "Partly. I've found that how people react to unexpected money tells you a lot about their character. But he hesitated, I also wanted to help if I could. The staff at that diner were kind to my mother when things were difficult. By throwing money around?" Maya challenged. "It's what I have to offer," he said simply. "And when I refused it?" A small smile touched his lips. You surprised me. Most people don't. They fell into an unexpected rhythm of conversation. Maya shared her concerns about what would happen to the diner, to the people who depended on those jobs. Ethan listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions. He explained his vision for the Innovation Center, how it could provide better opportunities while still preserving elements of the community. "What about you?" he asked eventually. "Darius mentioned you're studying physical therapy? You spoke to Darius about me?" "I went back to the diner this morning. Did some more reconnaissance." Maya wasn't sure how she felt about that. "Yes, I'm in my final year of the PTA program. I actually just got called for an interview at Bayside Rehabilitation Center." "Impressive place," Ethan nodded. "Competitive program." "You know it?" "My company has donated equipment to their pediatric wing." He hesitated. "Actually, I sit on their board of trustees." Maya's heart sank. "Please tell me you didn't have anything to do with my interview." "Absolutely not," Ethan said firmly. "I had no idea you'd applied there until just now. But it speaks well of you that you got an interview. Their standards are exceptionally high." Somewhat reassured, Maya relaxed slightly. It would be a perfect position. Better hours, relevant experience, and I could take care of my grandmother more easily. "You live with your grandmother?" Maya nodded. "She raised me after my parents died. Car accident when I was 10. Now it's my turn to look after her." She glanced at her watch. "Speaking of which, I should get going. My shift starts in 30 minutes. "Of course," Ethan said, rising as she stood. "Thank you for meeting with me. Your perspective has been valuable." "And what will you do with it?" Maya asked, genuinely curious. "I'm still deciding, but I promise your concerns won't be ignored." He hesitated. "Would it be possible to continue this conversation another time? Perhaps dinner?" Maya paused, recognizing the shift in his tone. This wasn't about the building anymore. "I don't think that would be appropriate," she said carefully. "Because of the possible building purchase?" "That, and the fact that you apparently sit on the board of the place where I'm interviewing next week." She smiled to soften her words. "Too many complications." Ethan nodded, accepting her reasoning. "I understand. For what it's worth, I've enjoyed talking with you, Maya. It's refreshing to meet someone who values honesty over advantage." As they parted ways outside the coffee shop, Maya couldn't help feeling that something significant had just happened, though she wasn't entirely sure what. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya threw herself into preparing for her interview at Bayside, while continuing her classes and shifts at the diner. She didn't see Ethan again, though she found herself glancing at the corner booth more often than she cared to admit. Her interview at Bayside went surprisingly well. Dr. Reynolds seemed impressed with her experience and understanding of patient care. The only awkward moment came when he mentioned the Board of Trustees would review final candidates. "One of our trustees expressed particular interest in our community outreach efforts," Dr. Reynolds mentioned. "Your experience working with diverse populations at the community center might be exactly what we're looking for." Maya tensed, wondering if Ethan had influenced the process after all, despite his assurances. The thought bothered her more than she expected. 3 days after her interview, Maya arrived at the diner for her morning shift to find the staff gathered in the dining area, faces tight with concern. The owner, Mr. Grayson, stood at the counter looking defeated. "What's going on?" Maya asked Darius as she tied on her apron. "Grayson just told us. The building's been sold. We have 30 days before they start renovations." Maya's heart sank. Did he say who bought it? Some corporation, Blackwood something. So he'd gone through with it, despite their conversation. Maya felt a surprising sting of disappointment. She'd thought, foolishly perhaps, that their talk had meant something. Mr. Grayson cleared his throat. "I know this is difficult news. I've run this place for 20 years and my uncle for 10 before that. But the offer was too good to refuse, especially with my health the way it is." "What about us?" asked Loretta, the cook who'd been there even longer than Grayson. "Some of us don't have anywhere else to go." "The new owner has invited all of us to a meeting here tomorrow morning," Grayson said. "Said he wants to discuss transition plans with the staff personally. That's something at least." The shift that day was somber, customers picking up on the staff's mood. Maya moved through her tasks automatically, a knot of anger growing in her chest. When her phone rang during her break with a call from Bayside, she almost didn't answer. "Miss Chen? This is Dr. Reynolds. I'm pleased to inform you that we'd like to offer you the position of physical therapy assistant, beginning next month. The news should have thrilled her. Instead, Maya felt conflicted. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. That's wonderful news. But I have to ask, was my application reviewed by the entire board? There was a pause. All final candidates were approved by the board, yes. Is there a concern? No, I wanted to make sure I was selected based on my qualifications. I assure you, Ms. Chen, your credentials and interview were most impressive. The decision was unanimous. After accepting the position and ending the call, Maya sat in the break room, emotions churning. A new job in her field, the opportunity she'd been working toward for years, and the likely loss of the diner that had supported her through those years. Both connected, somehow, to Ethan Blackwood. The next morning, Maya arrived early for the staff meeting. The diner was closed to customers, chairs still up on tables. She helped Darius set up coffee and the pastries Loretta had stress-baked the night before. At precisely 9 o'clock, the bell above the door chimed. Ethan walked in, accompanied by a woman carrying a tablet and a man with architectural drawings tucked under his arm. Maya stood to the side, arms crossed, as Mr. Grayson welcomed them. Ethan's eyes found her immediately, but she looked away. Thank you all for meeting with me this morning, Ethan began, addressing the assembled staff. I know change is difficult, and you have concerns about what this means for your livelihoods. Damn right we do, muttered Loretta from the kitchen doorway. Ethan nodded, acknowledging her concern. I want to be transparent about my plans for this building. But first, I want to share something personal. Ethan's voice softened as he surveyed the worried faces around him. 30 years ago, my mother worked in this very diner. She was a single parent, struggling to make ends meet after my father abandoned us. The people who worked here, his eyes swept the room, people like you, became her support system, her family. When she couldn't afford a babysitter, the cook would let me sit in the kitchen and do my homework. The staff exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from hostility to cautious interest. One Christmas, Ethan continued, when we couldn't afford heat in our apartment, the owner at that time gave my mother an advance on her salary. No questions asked. Just handed her the money and said, "Take care of your boy." He paused, emotion briefly tightening his features. I never forgot that kindness. Maya watched him, her anger faltering in the face of his vulnerability. This was a side of Ethan Blackwood that business magazines didn't capture. So when I learned this building was available, I didn't see it as just another real estate opportunity. I saw a chance to honor those memories, to give something back. He nodded to the man beside him who unrolled the architectural plans on a nearby table. Yes, there will be renovations, but not to tear everything down. The staff gathered around the plans as Ethan explained his vision. The diner would remain, modernized but preserving its character. The upper floors would be converted into the innovation center he described to Maya, offering technology education and career development for the neighborhood. And what about our jobs? Loretta asked bluntly. I'm offering positions to every current employee, Ethan replied. Either continuing in the diner, which will remain operational throughout most of the renovations, or training for roles in the innovation center if you prefer. Same salary, better benefits, and educational opportunities for those who want them. A ripple of surprised relief moved through the group. Mr. Grayson looked especially moved. You keeping the diner? With some upgrades, Ethan nodded, but the heart of it stays the same. As the staff began peppering Ethan's associates with questions about the renovation timeline and training programs, Maya found herself standing apart, processing the unexpected turn of events. She felt his presence before she saw him approach. You're upset with me, Ethan said quietly. Maya turned to face him. You didn't mention any of this when we had coffee. The plans weren't finalized yet. I didn't want to make promises I couldn't keep. But you went ahead and bought the building anyway. Yes, he acknowledged. Business waits for no one, especially in this neighborhood. Property values are rising quickly. If I'd hesitated, someone else would have purchased it. Someone who might not care about preserving what makes this place special. Maya studied his face, searching for insincerity but finding none. And Bayside? Did you influence their decision to hire me? Ethan's expression shifted to surprise. You got the position? Congratulations. That doesn't answer my question. He sighed. I recused myself from the hiring discussion because of our prior interaction, but I won't pretend I wasn't pleased to see your application in the stack. Your qualifications spoke for themselves, Maya. Before she could respond, Loretta called out to her. Maya, come look at this. They're adding a whole training kitchen for culinary programs upstairs. As Maya moved to join her coworkers, Ethan touched her arm lightly. Would you have dinner with me now? No business complications, no real estate discussions, just two people getting to know each other. Maya hesitated, aware of the curious glances from her coworkers. I'm still processing all of this. I understand, he said, disappointment evident but controlled. The offer remains open. For the rest of the morning, Maya observed Ethan as he interacted with the staff, patiently answering questions and listening to concerns. He remembered names, asked about family members, and spoke directly to their fears. Not the behavior of a typical billionaire CEO, she thought. When the meeting concluded, Maya found herself lingering as others departed. Ethan was discussing something with his associates when she approached. 7 o'clock, she said quietly. Tomorrow night. He turned, a question in his eyes. Dinner, Maya clarified, if the offer still stands. The smile that transformed his serious features caught her off guard. It does. I'll pick you up. I'll meet you there, she countered. Text me the restaurant details. As she walked home that afternoon, Maya wondered if she was making a mistake. Dating the man who technically owned her workplace and sat on the board of her future employer seemed complicated at best. But there was something about Ethan Blackwood that intrigued her, a depth beneath the successful exterior that she found herself wanting to explore. Her grandmother, predictably, was delighted by the development. A good man remembers where he comes from, she declared when Maya related Ethan's history with the diner. And he takes care of those who are kind to him. This shows character. Or strategic business sense, Maya countered. The Innovation Center benefits his company too. Nine-Eye waved away this objection. A smart man can do good business and be good-hearted at the same time. The two are not enemies. The following evening, Maya found herself standing outside Castellanos, an upscale but not ostentatious Italian restaurant downtown. She'd chosen a simple navy dress that had been gathering dust in her closet, saved for special occasions that rarely materialized. Ethan was waiting inside, dressed in a charcoal suit without a tie. He stood when he saw her, his appreciative glance making her momentarily self-conscious. You look beautiful, he said simply. Thank you, she replied, taking the seat the waiter held for her. This place is lovely, not too pretentious. I hoped you'd approve, Ethan said. I'm not particularly fond of restaurants where the portions are inversely proportional to the prices. The comment surprised a laugh from her. Not what I expected from a billionaire. What did you expect? I don't know. Caviar. Champagne that costs more than my rent? Ethan's mouth quirked. Those have their place, but sometimes what you really want is just excellent pasta in a comfortable setting. They ordered wine, antipasti to share, and pasta dishes that the waiter described with appropriate Italian reverence. As they waited for their food, Ethan asked about her classes, her grandmother, her journey toward physical therapy. After my parents died, I spent a lot of time in physical therapy myself, Maya explained. The car accident left me with some injuries. My therapist became a lifeline during that time, not just helping me physically, but giving me a sense of control when everything else felt chaotic. Ethan nodded, understanding in his eyes. That resonates with me. After my mother died, cancer, when I was in college, I threw myself into medical technology research, creating solutions for problems that had no solutions when she was sick. Is that how Blackwood Innovations started? Partly, he acknowledged. I developed a more efficient drug delivery system for pain management as my senior project at MIT. It caught the attention of some investors, and things evolved from there. Their conversation flowed easily, touching on books they'd read, places they hoped to visit, the challenges of caring for aging family members. Ethan spoke of his mother with quiet reverence, while Maya shared funny stories about her grandmother's matchmaking attempts with the grandsons of her knitting circle friends. "She sounds wonderful," Ethan said, smiling. "I'd like to meet her sometime." "She'd love that," Maya replied, then caught herself. "I mean, if we continue seeing each other?" Ethan suggested gently. "Yes, this is nice, but we're still virtual strangers." "Fair enough," he agreed. "Though I feel like I know you better after tonight than many people I've worked with for years." As they shared tiramisu for dessert, Ethan asked about her plans now that she'd secured the position at Bayside. "It changes everything," Maya admitted. "Better hours, better pay. I can finally move my grandmother into a place with no stairs, finish my degree without working double shifts." "You've been carrying a lot," Ethan observed. Maya shrugged. "No more than many people. I've been fortunate in many ways." "Your perspective is refreshing," he said. "Most people in my circles are focused on what they lack, not what they have." When the check came, Ethan reached for it automatically. Maya made no move to stop him, but raised an eyebrow. "No $1,000 tip this time, I hope." He laughed, the sound warming something in her chest. "I've learned my lesson, though I did confirm with the manager earlier that staff here are paid a living wage plus benefits." "Of course you did," Maya said, but her tone was affectionate rather than critical. Outside the restaurant, the night air was cool against her skin. Ethan offered his jacket, which she accepted gratefully. "May I drive you home?" he asked. Maya hesitated, then nodded. "That would be nice, thank you." His car was unexpectedly modest. A high-end Tesla, but not the flashiest model available. As they drove toward her neighborhood, Maya found herself studying his profile in the dim light. "You're not what I expected," she said finally. Ethan glanced at her. "In what way?" "You don't flaunt your wealth. You remember where you came from. You listen when people speak." She paused. "It's unusual, in my limited experience with very successful people." "Perhaps that's why I'm successful," he suggested. "Listening is an undervalued skill in business." As they pulled up outside her apartment building, Ethan turned to her. "I've enjoyed tonight, Maya, very much. I'd like to see you again, if you're open to it." The sincerity in his voice touched her. "I'd like that too," she admitted. "Perhaps Sunday? There's a farmer's market in Westfield Park. Less formal than dinner." "Sunday works," Maya agreed, slipping off his jacket and handing it back. "Thank you for tonight. For dinner. And for what you're doing with the diner." "The diner was a sound business decision," he said. "Dinner with you was my pleasure." As he walked her to the door of her building, Maya felt a flutter of anticipation. Would he kiss her goodnight? Should she want him to? They'd only just met, and yet there was an undeniable connection between them. Ethan seemed to sense her uncertainty. He took her hand, raising it to his lips in an old-fashioned gesture that somehow felt perfectly natural coming from him. "Good night, Maya. I'll see you Sunday." The simple touch sent warmth spiraling through her. "Good night, Ethan." Inside, Maya found her grandmother still awake, pretending to watch television but clearly waiting up for details. "Well?" Nai demanded. "How was the Billionaire?" Maya couldn't help smiling. "Surprisingly normal. We're seeing each other again on Sunday." Her grandmother looked smug. "I told you he liked you." "It's just a second date, Nai. Don't start planning a wedding." But as she got ready for bed that night, Maya couldn't deny the sense of possibility that had opened up before her, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a very long time. Sunday at the farmer's market was pleasantly casual. Ethan arrived in jeans and a simple button-down shirt, looking more relaxed than Maya had seen him yet. They wandered among the stalls, sampling local honey and artisanal cheeses, debating the merits of different apple varieties. "My mother used to bring me here when I was small," Ethan said as they sat on a bench, sharing a bag of fresh kettle corn. "She'd save all week to buy fresh vegetables. Said it was the one luxury we couldn't do without." "Your mother sounds wise," Maya observed. "My grandmother is the same way about certain things. Some expenses aren't negotiable, even when money is tight." They talked about growing up with single caretakers, the responsibilities they'd shouldered young, the dreams they'd deferred, and those they'd managed to realize. As weeks passed, they fell into a comfortable rhythm of dating. Casual outings to museums and parks, quiet dinners at neighborhood restaurants, even a cooking lesson at Maya's apartment where Ethan attempted to recreate her grandmother's famous dumplings under Nai's critical supervision. "Your technique needs work," the old woman declared, demonstrating the proper folding method for the third time. "But you have good hands. Strong, but gentle. Important for dumplings and for life." Ethan accepted the criticism with good humor. "I'm a quick learner, Mrs. Chen. I'll practice." "Call me Nai," she instructed. Mrs. Chen was my daughter-in-law, Maya's mother. The simple invitation into family terminology didn't escape Maya's notice. Neither did the pleased expression on Ethan's face. Meanwhile, renovations at the diner proceeded on schedule. The place remained open with limited hours, construction happening in phases to minimize disruption. Maya, now working at Bayside, still visited regularly to check on her former coworkers and the progress of the Innovation Center. Ethan's involvement went beyond typical investor oversight. He often stopped by unannounced, spoke with contractors directly, and solicited input from staff about design decisions. When Loretta mentioned that the original diner had featured black and white checkerboard tiles, Ethan immediately directed the designers to incorporate that element into the updated space. "You don't have to do all this yourself," Maya commented one evening as they walked through the partially renovated upper floor. "Don't you have project managers for this kind of thing?" "Of course," Ethan agreed. "But this is personal. I want to be involved." Their relationship deepened gradually, both of them cautious after years of prioritizing responsibilities over personal connections. They shared past disappointments. Maya's broken engagement to a man who'd ultimately resented her devotion to her grandmother. Ethan's series of relationships with women more interested in his wealth than himself. "I stopped dating entirely for a while," he admitted one night as they sat on his balcony overlooking the city. "It seemed simpler to focus on work. Until?" Maya prompted when he paused. "Until I met a waitress who refused a $1,000 tip and made me question my assumptions," he finished, his eyes holding hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. It was that night, 3 months after their first meeting, that they finally crossed the threshold from dating to lovers. Their connection, already strong intellectually and emotionally, proved equally powerful physically. In Ethan's arms, Maya felt a sense of belonging she'd never experienced before, as if something long missing had finally clicked into place. Afterward, lying in the peaceful darkness of his bedroom, Maya traced patterns on his chest. "Why did you really offer me that tip? The truth this time." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "I saw you earlier that morning, before you noticed me. You were on the phone, looking worried. Then you served every table with genuine warmth, despite whatever was troubling you." His fingers played gently with her hair. "I wanted to ease your burden somehow." It was impulsive and, in retrospect, rather clumsy. "Most people would have just accepted the money," Maya pointed out. "I'm very glad you're not most people," he murmured, pulling her closer. As summer turned to fall, they settled into a relationship that balanced their independent lives with growing togetherness. Maya continued her work at Bayside, finishing her degree in the evenings. Ethan managed his company while personally overseeing the final phases of the Innovation Center, now named the Claire Blackwood Center after his mother. The grand opening was scheduled for early December. In the weeks leading up to it, Ethan grew increasingly busy and occasionally distracted. Maya attributed it to work stress until she arrived at his penthouse one evening to find him uncharacteristically nervous. "Is everything okay?" she asked as he poured wine with less than his usual steadiness. "Fine," he said quickly. "Just finalizing details for the opening." But throughout dinner, he checked his phone repeatedly and seemed to lose track of their conversation. When he excused himself to take a call, returning 15 minutes later with a forced smile, Maya's concern deepened. "Ethan, what's going on? And don't say nothing. I know you better than that now." He sighed, setting down his fork. "I'm sorry. You're right. I've been distracted. It's just, there's something important I've been working on, and it's not quite ready." "The Innovation Center?" "Related to it, yes." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I promise I'll explain everything at the opening. Can you trust me until then?" The sincerity in his eyes melted her concern. "Of course I trust you." The morning of the grand opening dawned clear and cold. The renovated building gleamed in the winter sunlight, the diner's original neon sign restored to its former glory, alongside the sleek modern signage for the Innovation Center. Inside, the diner portion had been beautifully updated while preserving its character. Black and white checkerboard floors, red leather booths, and a refurbished vintage counter. The original staff, including Loretta and Darius, wore new uniforms featuring both the diner's logo and the Blackwood Innovation emblem. Upstairs, the Innovation Center spaces were modern and welcoming. Computer labs, teaching kitchens, classrooms, and a childcare center for participants with young children. Every detail reflected both cutting-edge technology and thoughtful accessibility. As guests arrived for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, local officials, business leaders, community members, and media, Maya found herself swept up in the excitement. She'd watched this project evolve from concept to reality, seen how it had already begun transforming lives in the neighborhood. Ethan was in his element, confidently leading tours and explaining the center's mission, yet he seemed to grow more nervous as the formal ceremony approached. When he disappeared briefly with his assistant, Maya found herself cornered by a reporter from the business section of the city paper. "Miss Chen, you're Ethan Blackwood's girlfriend, correct? How did you two meet?" Maya smiled politely. "At the diner, actually. I was working as a waitress here before taking my current position at Bayside." The reporter looked intrigued. "So you knew him before this project began? Were you involved in the planning?" "Not initially, no. But Ethan has always valued community input. This center isn't just his vision. It reflects the needs and desires of the people who live and work in this neighborhood." Before the reporter could ask more questions, Ethan's assistant appeared at Maya's elbow. "Excuse me, Miss Chen. Mr. Blackwood is asking for you. The ceremony is about to begin." Maya followed her to the front of the assembled crowd, where Ethan waited by the ceremonial ribbon stretched across the entrance to the Innovation Center. He looked handsome in a tailored suit, but his expression was tense until he saw her. Then his features relaxed into a genuine smile. "There you are," he said, taking her hand. "I need you beside me for this." The mayor stepped forward first, offering congratulations and remarks about community development. Then it was Ethan's turn to speak. He stepped up to the microphone, still holding Maya's hand. "Thank you all for being here today," he began. "This project represents many things to me: a return to my roots, a commitment to this community, and a tribute to my mother, Claire Blackwood, who worked in the diner downstairs for many years." He spoke briefly about the center's programs, the scholarships available to local residents, and the partnerships with area schools and businesses. Then his tone shifted. "But there's another aspect to today's celebration that's deeply personal." He turned to Maya, his eyes holding hers. 6 months ago, I walked into that diner downstairs with a rather misguided idea about how to assess people's character. I offered an excessive tip to a waitress named Maya Chen. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as all eyes turned to Maya, who felt her cheeks warming. To my surprise and admiration, she refused it, Ethan continued. She stood on principle, questioned my motives, and challenged my assumptions. In that moment, though I didn't realize it yet, my life changed course. Maya's heart began to race as Ethan turned fully toward her, the microphone now forgotten. "Maya, you've shown me what true wealth looks like, not in money or possessions, but in integrity, compassion, and love freely given. You've reminded me of values my mother instilled that I'd nearly forgotten in the pursuit of success." To Maya's astonishment, Ethan reached into his pocket and lowered himself to one knee. Gasps and exclamations erupted from the audience. "I had planned a more private moment for this," he said softly, though the microphone still caught his words. "But I realize now there's no more perfect place than here, where our story began, surrounded by the community that shaped us both." He opened a small velvet box, revealing a ring that caught the light, not ostentatiously large, but exquisitely designed with a central diamond surrounded by smaller sapphires the exact shade of Maya's favorite blue sweater. "Maya Chen, Your honesty changed my life that morning. Your integrity captured my attention. Your heart captured mine. Will you marry me?" Time seemed to stop as Maya stared at the ring, her mind racing with 1,000 thoughts at once. The crowd around them faded into a distant blur as she focused only on Ethan's face. Open, vulnerable, hopeful. 6 months ago, he had been a stranger offering an outrageous tip. Now he was the man she'd fallen in love with, kneeling before her in front of cameras, reporters, and half the neighborhood. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice catching. Then, realizing the crowd was holding its collective breath, she spoke louder. "This is why you've been so distracted lately?" He nodded, a nervous smile playing at his lips. Planning a proposal is surprisingly stressful, even for someone who runs a multi-billion-dollar company. Laughter rippled through the audience, breaking the tension slightly. Maya's eyes filled with tears as the reality of the moment sank in. "Yes," she said, her voice stronger now. "Yes, I will marry you." The crowd erupted in cheers as Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger with slightly trembling hands. When he stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her with a tenderness that belied the public setting, Maya felt as though her heart might burst from happiness. The remainder of the ceremony passed in a blur. The ribbon cutting, the tours, the interviews. Maya found herself repeatedly explaining to curious reporters how she'd met her now fiancé. "So you actually turned down money from one of the richest men in the country?" One particularly persistent journalist asked. "I turned down what felt like an inappropriate tip," Maya corrected gently. "I had no idea who he was at the time." "And if you had known?" Maya smiled, catching Ethan's eye across the room where he was speaking with the mayor. "I would have done exactly the same thing. Some principles don't change based on who's testing them." Later that evening, after the crowds had dispersed and they finally had a moment alone in Ethan's penthouse, Maya examined her engagement ring in the soft lighting. "It's perfect," she said. "Not too flashy, but still special." "Like its wearer," Ethan replied, pulling her close. "I had it custom designed. The sapphires match." "My blue sweater," Maya finished, smiling up at him. "The one I wore to our first coffee date." "You noticed?" "Of course I noticed. It's exactly the kind of thoughtful detail that made me fall in love with you." She traced his jawline with her fingertips. "Though I have to say, a public proposal was unexpected from someone as private as you." Ethan looked slightly embarrassed. "That wasn't the original plan. I was going to ask you here tonight, after the ceremony. But standing there, seeing how perfectly you fit into every aspect of my life, the personal, the professional, the past, the future, I couldn't wait another moment." "Your PR team is probably having a field day," Maya teased. "They'll survive," he murmured, lowering his lips to hers. "Besides, it makes a better story. The billionaire who offered a $1,000 tip gets rejected, then ends up proposing to the waitress who turned him down." "When you put it that way, it does sound like something from a movie," Maya admitted. "But our story is just beginning." The next morning, Maya woke to find herself trending on social media. Video of the proposal had gone viral overnight, with headlines ranging from "Billionaire's public proposal to former waitress" to "Honesty pays off. Woman who refused excessive tip wins billionaire's heart." "This is surreal," she told Ethan over breakfast. "People are calling me Cinderella in reverse because I apparently didn't need rescuing." "That's actually quite accurate," Ethan said, refilling her coffee cup. "You're one of the most self-sufficient people I've ever met. It's what drew me to you from the start." Maya's phone chimed with another notification. "My former professor just texted me. Apparently I'm now the example she'll use in ethics class for integrity has unexpected rewards," Ethan chuckled. "Not exactly why you should be honest, but I suppose it works." When they visited Nai later that morning to share the news officially, the elderly woman opened the door with a newspaper in hand, the proposal featured prominently on the front page. "I already know," she said, eyes twinkling as she ushered them inside. "My phone has not stopped ringing. All my friends at the community center say I will be unbearable now." "And will you?" Maya asked, embracing her grandmother. "Of course," Nai replied cheerfully. "I knew from the beginning." She turned to Ethan, assessing him with narrowed eyes. "You took longer than I expected to propose, but the ring is very nice. You have my blessing." "Thank you," Ethan said solemnly, though amusement danced in his eyes. Your approval means a great deal to me. As they settled in the small living room, Nai became more serious. Marriage is not just romance, you know. It is partnership, building something together that lasts. That's what we want, Maya assured her, exchanging a glance with Ethan. We've talked about it. Good, Nai nodded. Now, practical matters. The wedding. Small or big? Traditional or modern? When? Nai, we just got engaged yesterday, Maya protested. No time like present to plan, her grandmother insisted. Especially with photographers already interested. Better to decide what you want before others decide for you. There was wisdom in her words, as usual. Over the following week, Maya and Ethan found themselves fielding countless inquiries about their relationship and wedding plans. Magazines offered exclusive coverage. Wedding planners sent elaborate proposals. Designers reached out about custom gowns. This is overwhelming, Maya admitted one evening as they sorted through the latest batch of offers and invitations. I never imagined engagement would involve so much administration. Ethan set aside his tablet, rubbing his eyes. Welcome to my world. Everything becomes more complicated when people think money is involved. Is this what it's always like for you? People wanting a piece of your attention, your influence, your resources? More or less, he acknowledged. You get used to filtering out the noise. Maya considered this, but I don't want to get used to it. I don't want our relationship to become part of the noise. Ethan took her hands. What are you suggesting? Let's elope, she said suddenly. Not immediately. We'll still have a proper celebration later for family and close friends. But the actual ceremony, let's make it just about us. A slow smile spread across Ethan's face. I like the way you think, Maya Chen. They decided on a small, private ceremony in April, when cherry blossoms would be blooming in the Japanese garden, where they'd spent many pleasant afternoons. Only Nai and Ethan's closest friend from college would attend as witnesses. For the reception 2 weeks later, they would invite a broader circle to celebrate with them. In the months leading up to the wedding, Maya and Ethan settled into a rhythm of shared life. They found a spacious but not ostentatious house, halfway between the Innovation Center and Bayside, with an adjoining guest cottage perfect for Nai to maintain her independence while remaining close. The stairs in my old apartment were becoming difficult anyway, the elderly woman admitted when they proposed the arrangement. But no hovering. I am old, not helpless. Understood, Ethan assured her. You'll have your own kitchen, entrance, everything. We just want you nearby. Working together, they created a home that reflected both their tastes. Maya's warmth and practicality balancing Ethan's appreciation for clean lines and quality craftsmanship. Throughout the process, Maya remained conscious of the vast financial disparity between them. I want to contribute to our life together, she told Ethan one evening as they discussed household arrangements. Not just emotionally, but practically. I know my salary is a fraction of what you earn, but it matters to me that I'm bringing something tangible to our partnership. Ethan considered her words carefully. What would make you feel comfortable? After thoughtful discussion, they established a household account to which they both contributed proportionally to their incomes. Maya would continue her career at Bayside, where she had recently been promoted to oversee the pediatric rehabilitation program. I love what I do, she explained. It gives me purpose beyond our relationship. I need that independence. I wouldn't want you any other way, Ethan assured her. Your dedication to your career is part of who you are. Meanwhile, the Innovation Center flourished under joint leadership from Ethan's company and community representatives. Programs filled quickly, with waiting lists for the coding classes and culinary training. The diner, now managed by Loretta with Mr. Grayson as consultant, became a popular gathering spot for both longtime neighborhood residents and visitors to the center. As their wedding approached, Maya found herself reflecting on the extraordinary journey that had brought them together. If I had accepted that tip, she mused one evening as they walked along the river, do you think we would have ended up here? Ethan was quiet for a moment. I'd like to believe we would have found our way to each other somehow. But that moment of honesty, your integrity, even when it might have cost you something valuable, that's what made me look beyond my first impression. It cracked open the door to everything that followed. The morning of their wedding dawned clear and perfect. Cherry blossoms floated on the gentle breeze as Maya and Ethan stood before a simple arch in the Japanese garden, Nai and Ethan's friend James watching with matching expressions of joy. Maya wore a sleek, elegant dress in ivory silk. No grand ball gown or extravagant train, just clean lines that complemented her natural beauty. Ethan had never looked more handsome in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, his eyes never leaving Maya's face as they exchanged their vows. "I promise to honor your independence even as we build our life together," Ethan said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "To value your perspective, to listen when you challenge me, and to always remember that true wealth lies in integrity and love." Maya blinked back tears as she responded, "I promise to stand beside you as an equal partner, to remind you of what truly matters when the world grows too loud, and to love you for the man you are beneath all the roles you play." Their kiss, witnessed only by the cherry blossoms, the gentle stream, and their two most trusted loved ones, sealed a union founded on mutual respect and genuine connection. 2 weeks later, they welcomed friends, family, and colleagues to a celebration at the Innovation Center. The space had been transformed with simple, elegant decorations that highlighted the building's character rather than masking it. Darius served as DJ, while Loretta supervised the catering team with military precision. Staff from Bayside mingled with executives from Blackwood Innovations, neighborhood residents chatted with city officials, and at the center of it all, Maya and Ethan moved among their guests, their happiness radiating outward. "You two give me hope. Drive," Reynolds told Maya, clinking his champagne glass against hers. "In a world obsessed with surface appearances, you found something real." "Sometimes the most valuable things aren't the most obvious," Maya replied, watching as Ethan helped Nai to a comfortable seat, adjusting a cushion behind her back with careful attention. Later, as they swayed together during their first dance, Ethan whispered in her ear, "Happy?" "Completely," Maya assured him, resting her head against his chest. "Though I'm still getting used to all of this." She nodded subtly toward the photographer, discreetly capturing their moment. "We could have done without some of it," Ethan acknowledged. "But I wanted to celebrate properly with everyone who helped bring us to this point." "Even your brother?" Maya asked, glancing toward James, who was deep in conversation with Ethan's head of research and development. "Especially James," Ethan said softly. "He's the one who convinced me to stop at that particular diner that morning. Said I needed to see how the other half lives before deciding on the property." He smiled at the memory. "I was annoyed with him at the time, but now I owe him everything." As the evening progressed, Maya found a moment to slip away to the diner downstairs. In the quiet of the familiar space, now closed for the evening but still warmly lit, she took a moment to absorb how much her life had changed since that morning when Ethan had first walked through the door. The sound of footsteps made her turn. Ethan stood in the doorway, his tie loosened, looking at her with understanding. "Needed a breather?" he asked, crossing to join her at the counter. "Just taking a moment to appreciate the journey," she said, leaning into him as his arm circled her waist. "It's been quite a year." "And many more to come," he promised, pressing a kiss to her temple. When they returned to the celebration upstairs, Nai was holding court, regaling a group of Ethan's executives with stories from her youth in China. "There she is," the elderly woman called, beckoning Maya over. "My granddaughter, who would not take the easy money. Stubborn like her father, wise like her mother, integrity like her grandmother," Ethan added, earning an approving nod from Nai. As the evening drew to a close, guests lined up outside to send them off with biodegradable confetti and well wishes. Maya and Ethan had opted to delay their honeymoon until summer, when they would travel to Japan and China, combining Ethan's business connections with a pilgrimage to Nai's hometown. In the car taking them home, Maya twisted her new wedding band alongside her engagement ring, still adjusting to their presence on her finger. "Having second thoughts?" Ethan asked, only half joking. "Never," she assured him, just thinking about how life changes in an instant. One decision leads to another, and suddenly you're on a path you never imagined. "Any regrets?" Maya shook her head. "Not one. Though I do wonder sometimes what would have happened if you'd just left a normal tip that day." Ethan laughed. "I've never been very good at normal, I'm afraid." "Thank goodness for that," Maya said, leaning over to kiss him. Their first year of marriage brought both joys and challenges. They traveled extensively for Ethan's business, with Maya often accompanying him and using the opportunity to study rehabilitation techniques in different countries. Her program at Bayside incorporated several innovations she discovered during these trips, earning recognition from the medical community. The Innovation Center continued to thrive, with several successful graduates going on to work for Blackwood Innovations or starting businesses of their own. Maya and Ethan established a scholarship program specifically for single parents pursuing education while supporting families. Not everything was smooth sailing. They disagreed at times about money, work-life balance, and the public aspects of their relationship. Ethan's instinct to solve problems by throwing resources at them sometimes clashed with Maya's more measured, hands-on approach. Her occasional discomfort with the privileges of wealth sometimes made him feel he couldn't share certain aspects of his life with her. But they had built their relationship on honesty and communication, and these principles saw them through the rough patches. They learned to appreciate their different perspectives rather than seeing them as obstacles. On their first anniversary, they returned to the diner for breakfast, sitting in the same booth where Ethan had left that $1,000 tip so long ago. "Would you believe me if I said I knew even then that you were special?" Ethan asked as they shared a plate of pancakes. "Absolutely not," Maya laughed. "You were annoyed that I questioned your generosity." "Intrigued," he corrected. "Not annoyed. There's a difference." "Well, either way, it worked out rather well for both of us." Darius approached their table with fresh coffee. "The power couple returns to their humble beginnings," he teased. "Can I get you anything else? Maybe some caviar for your pancakes." "The pancakes are perfect as they are," Ethan assured him. "Though we would like to speak with Loretta when she has a moment." When the cook emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron, she eyed them suspiciously. "What's up? You two look like you're plotting something." Maya and Ethan exchanged glances before Ethan spoke. "We've been discussing the next phase for the Innovation Center. We'd like to expand the culinary program, possibly partner with some restaurants downtown for apprenticeships. And," Maya continued, "we'd like you to head the program, Loretta. Design the curriculum, choose the equipment, select the instructors. Full creative control, with competitive salary and benefits." Loretta's normally composed expression gave way to shock. "Me? Run an entire program? I'm just a diner cook." "You're an exceptional chef who's been limited by circumstances," Ethan corrected. "You have 30 years of experience and a natural gift for teaching. We've seen how you mentor the younger kitchen staff. The students would be lucky to learn from you," Maya added. "Think about it. No pressure, but we believe you'd be perfect." After Loretta returned to the kitchen, visibly moved by their offer, Maya reached across the table to take Ethan's hand. "That's what makes all of this worthwhile, isn't it? Using our resources, not just money, but connections, influence, knowledge, to create opportunities for others." Ethan nodded, squeezing her fingers. "It's what gives meaning to success. Something I might never have fully understood without you." "I think you would have figured it out eventually," Maya said. "You have your mother's heart. It was always there, just waiting for the right moment to guide your decisions." "Perhaps," Ethan acknowledged, "but it would have taken much longer, and I might have missed the most important opportunity of all." "What's that?" His eyes, warm with love, held hers across the table. "The chance to share my life with someone who sees me clearly and loves me anyway. Someone who reminds me every day that the most valuable things can't be bought." "Speaking of valuable things," Maya said, a mysterious smile playing at her lips, "I have something for you. An anniversary gift of sorts, though it won't arrive for about 7 more months." Ethan's brow furrowed in confusion, then cleared as understanding dawned. "Maya, are you saying?" She nodded, happiness radiating from her face. "We're having a baby." For a moment, Ethan simply stared at her, joy and wonder transforming his features. Then he was out of his seat, pulling her up into his arms, his laughter mingling with hers as he lifted her off her feet. Around them, the diner erupted in applause as patrons and staff realized what was happening. Darius whooped. Loretta emerged from the kitchen again, tears in her eyes but a broad smile on her face. "I told you!" she called, to no one in particular. "Didn't I say those two were meant for something special?" Later, as they walked hand in hand through the neighborhood, making plans and dreaming of their future as parents, Maya reflected on the extraordinary chain of events that had brought them to this moment. "It all started because I refused your money," she mused. "Such a small thing in the grand scheme." "Small actions often have the greatest impact," Ethan replied. "Your integrity that morning changed the course of both our lives. And now we get to pass those values on to our child," Maya said, resting her free hand briefly on her still flat stomach. "Along with your business sense and my stubbornness." "A formidable combination," Ethan laughed. "The world better watch out." As they continued their walk, greeting neighbors and discussing names, their story continued to unfold, not as a fairy tale of rescue and riches, but as a genuine partnership founded on honesty, respect, and the recognition that true wealth has nothing to do with money. For Maya Chen Blackwood, refusing that $1,000 tip had indeed led to rewards beyond imagination, not because it brought her a wealthy husband, but because it connected her with a partner who valued the very principles that guided her refusal. Together they were building something far more precious than fortune, a legacy of integrity, purpose, and love. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.